We are back. This is the Grunge Bubble Podcast. My name is Ethan Shalloway. I'm joined by Chris Salona. This is episode 128. For those that are counting, 128 in a row, that is. Haven't missed one single episode. And Chris, I think we wanted to skip this one, but here we are.
I really wanted to skip this one.
You know, podcasts, everybody knows that podcasts take a lull in the summer, and we've been tempted many times throughout the summer to take that vacation that most people do. Like, I'm going to step away for a month. For reasons we do not know, we decided to power through on all of them. So for the listeners out there, I hope you're grateful because we're putting in the work here.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, school's back in session, and we're gunning for that perfect attendance award.
That's right.
Somebody needs to get it. You know, we've got the streak going. We can't sit now.
This episode is coming out on Labor Day. September is here. Chris,
Happy
how are
birth
you
month,
feeling?
Ethan.
Happy birth month. There's football season is starting, American football, which I am so excited for.
That's huge.
Fantasy football drafts are going on. The kids are going back to school.
Yep.
And, you know, your life stays the same because you're in the working world. How does it feel, Chris? How do you feel, man?
That was the biggest shock for me when I started in the working world. Well, it was interesting. So I graduated college, and the first 2 years out of college, I worked at a university at my alma mater. So my schedule and my calendar was still kind of following the cadence of a school calendar. And then the year after that was when I first started working my nice. It's always there for you, 40-hour week job. And it was really strange. Like, I got really anxious around like the first August that I was working a normal job. I'm like, I feel like there's something that I need to go and do, but there's not. I'm just working. I like it better this way. I really like it better this way.
You like it better where you don't have, say, the start of the year being in September?
Yep. Yeah, you just roll. You make your own summer.
Yeah, I do like that my brain is wired to kind of, the year starts in September. That's when training begins for my year. It ends in the summer rather than starting in January when everybody else starts their new year. Even though it messes me up for taxes and shit and understanding that how things work. But I was talking about my brother's a teacher, and one of my good friends, Ben, who we just saw recently, he's a teacher as well. And we were talking about how, the kids, they're starting earlier and earlier, dude. There was some kids have been in school for like a couple weeks, and even July. I heard there's in Arizona, they started like mid-July for school. And
no, they didn't. Mid-July, there's like no break.
Yeah. But then there's the argument: why do kids need a break? They actually come back and they forget everything.
I think it's so the teachers get a break.
Yeah, but no one else gets a break in life. You don't get a break like that.
No, but because I had breaks when I was growing up, I spent them all.
Yeah, but. So the teachers, they did the same thing, and they still get those breaks.
All I'm telling you, all I'm saying, I'm not an educator, but if I had to spend 180 days a year with like fourth graders, I would need that break.
Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting argument. I guess they developed that schedule because of the farming and harvest season that happens in summer.
Is that true?
That's what I was told.
They had to send the children back into the coal mines because the kids yearn for the mines.
The kids yearn for the mines, exactly. But seriously, like, they would go home and have to work on the farm and work on the land. Like, the parents needed them. So I think that's why they took a break. And that's why a lot of people are homeschooled
lesson
too.
On the Grunge Bible podcast.
That's why people have homeschooled, because they need to work.
Can you tell we've been doing this for a while? Here we are talking about the origins of the school calendar.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but I'm glad that I lived in a time where I went back to school right around Labor Day and got off, right after Memorial Day or whenever that is, in June. Me
too. I think the Northeast, like we've done it pretty healthily, because I know when you go west and you go south, they start earlier, but they get out earlier. But I was very cool with, like, you start after Labor Day and you end. We used to end like the first week of June, second week of June, so it was good. But
I like not having to be in school when it's hot out and nice out.
Yeah.
As a kid.
Well, that was another thing. Like I had one year I was in school and they postponed the start of the school year by like 2 weeks because I think they were fixing the HVAC system in the school. Yeah. No, they were fixing the HVAC system in the school, and it was like an old brick building, and the repairs were running late, and like they, from like a health and wellness perspective, they just couldn't have the kids in the building when it was like 100 degrees outside because the thing was like a tinder box. So it's good for me though. I got 2 extra weeks of summer.
Right. So this week's episode, we are going to be talking about
back to school.
We're going back to school. September's begun. Like I said, it's a new year in my book, and all the kids are going back, and it's a good time to look back on all the years, and because this is the most formidable times in your life, I would argue.
Absolutely.
I have not seen my whole life, but I feel like the memories that I had, obviously in my teens and young 20s and stuff, are the ones that seem to stick out the most. The last 6 years, they kind of come and go. I mean, I remember some shit, but like the stuff from when I was in junior high seemed to be more impactful for whatever reason, and they're a lot smaller. So we're just going to deep dive into some of the stuff we remember, some of the songs we remember listening to, some of the music involved, and how that has an effect on you as you grow older.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, on a greater level, more than being a grunge rock podcast, we're a nostalgia podcast. I mean, Ethan, let's face it. Yeah. I mean, 97% of what we talk about are things that happened in the past that we're attempting to recall in a fond manner. The other 3% we're just ranting about things. But this is a great opportunity to do it. I think a lot of people maybe relate to a lot of these sentiments that we're going to discuss, and we're able to sit here and discuss them together and send this out to everyone who listens because of the support that we receive from our listeners. Most notably, we have a strong group of people over on Patreon who support us with a financial contribution each month, and leading the way over there are our top tier supporters on Patreon, and they choose to give us $10 a month to keep this podcast rolling. So a new month begins. A new round of contributions are coming in, so it's a really, really good time to be thankful as we begin this month of September. So at this time, I would like to thank the members of our top tier over on Patreon, and they are Pile of Punk, Carlene Salona, Jade Mercado, Marianne, Alexa Shannon, Fuck Soup, Jamie Lynn, Lauren Irene, The Blue Owl, Doug Endy, Millie, Rachel Corning, Kara K, What the Fuck is Up, Denny's, Nikki Six, Chris LSMS, Black Hole Sean, Fresh Tendonitis, Alex Long, Captain High Top, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Brother Nature, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Faith Bittner, Granny Grunge, Corden Stewart, Julie Van Siever, Epona, Sherry Matthews, Keith White, Corden Stewart, Eric R. Berry, D Boat, and Gochu John. Thank you once again as we begin another month and we receive more of your money that you choose to give us. So if you're liking the show so far, you check in and you want to take your support to the next level, you can go to the show notes and check out the link to the Patreon website where you can support us at a $2, $5, or $10 per month level. Also in the show notes, we have a link to our merchandise website where you can, get yourself a nice crew neck sweatshirt. Temperatures are cooling off here in the States. And I love a good crew neck. I'm a fan of my Grunge Bible crew neck. I'm looking forward to wearing it and having people hopefully not ask me what it is so I don't get flustered in a social situation.
That's awesome. I also want to take this time to say that, Chris, we have been slacking on selling this house that we've been, the Grunge Bible house.
Quinn Shalloway wants to sell your house.
Quinn Shalloway wants to sell your house through Grunge Bible. So my brother's a realtor, and now that I'm back in the fold, he's going showing houses and stuff. And he was like, when am I going to sell Grunge Bible's first house? And I said, that's a good point. We haven't said anything on there. So if you're out there looking to buy or sell a house, please contact us and we'll put you in contact with Quinn, and then we all make money. It's going to be great. And you get a new house, or you sell your house. It doesn't matter. Any way you look at it, we're all going to, you guys are going to have a new house, or leave your old house, which is sad, the old apartment, but
Bare naked ladies.
Times to move on, So, think about that. I always wonder if there's somebody out there that's like,
someone who's mulling it over.
Yeah, someone that's like, do I really want to take the leap? Like, what do these guys know? Well, we don't know anything, but Quinn does. Quinn's our shark.
Yeah. I always wonder with this show, so I listen to my podcast on Spotify, and they have like the 15 seconds forward or backward button. And I wonder if there's people that are just kind of spamming that 15-second button until we get into the topic. I do that with podcasts that I listen to. So I encourage you to do it. If being thanked or listening to us thanking people is not your thing, just skip over to what you want,
But that means that you listen to the episode and you should be a patron. So if you are skipping over, do us the courtesy of at least paying $2 to.
Yeah, you got a tax to cut the line.
You got exactly. You got a tax. You got to pay to skip those ads, basically.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
All right, so let's start with. So I'm back in my childhood house. This is where I grew up in. This is my dad's lived here for 55 years. My grandfather built this house.
That's
I never
gnarly.
met him. Yeah, my dad's been literally living here for 55 years. So he went to school living here. I went to school. We have this driveway that we walk down to wait for the bus.
Mm-hmm.
You go down. Parents wait with you for a little bit. Then in junior high, you guys, you rush out the last second. The bus is here. You got to run out there, grab your food, that my mom packed or made breakfast. Got to rush down there, and then you get to high school and you get your license, and you finally get to drive yourself to school. And it's crazy. I'm thinking grade school, like the memories I have from grade school and how simple it was. Did you guys had recess, right?
Oh yeah, we had. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, we had one recess, but we had snack time at 10:30, which sometimes if we were good, we would get an abbreviated recess after snack time, and then we had recess and lunch. Over the lunch hour around 12:30 or so. Were you a recess or a gym class guy in grade school? I was both. I was that kid who would go out, whether it be for recess or for gym, and just lay it all on the line and like come back into class just dripping in
Sweating.
sweat. And the worst part too was, mind you, this was like the mid 2000s, early 2000s, so they were much more in vogue than they are now. But I have, as I'm wearing now, I had to wear glasses. You better believe that I had those transition lenses.
That's amazing.
I had.
What was it? Were you guys a kickball school, or were you playing football?
Oh man,
What did you guys
I would
play?
say so. We used to play. We played a lot of touch football. We played a lot of rundown. We used to play a game called Off the Wall too. So like we had our school was I think 3 stories tall. It had this big brick wall with no windows on it. And it was kind of like a modified rundown. Like you throw the ball off the wall, and if you caught it on the fly, you were safe. But if you tried to catch it and like you didn't catch it, you had to run to the wall. And somebody would have an opportunity to take the ball that you dropped and throw it at the wall. And if the ball hit the wall before you touched the wall, you were out.
Some good old wall ball, dude.
Yeah,
I loved it.
We used to play a lot of that, but then like the dark urge would come to roof the ball, to roof the tennis ball. So like all the like little kids would be chanting the dark arts, man. They'd be chanting, roof it, and they would throw it. But the best day of the year, like once or twice a year, the janitor, Mr. Dorley would get up onto the roof, and without any prior notice, he would just start throwing all of the tennis balls off of the roof. So there'd be like tens of tennis balls, like dozens of tennis balls coming down off of the roof, and it was like Christmas. Then you had to stockpile them and save them up, for future games. We did that. Amazing. We did all like the Foursquare bullshit, but I was definitely a football or an off the wall kind of guy.
Yeah, Foursquare was incredible. We played this. There was a dodgeball. We had a dodgeball set up, and it was a big circle, and everybody started in the middle. There was a circle, like it was a circle inside of a circle. The really small line where you were allowed to run around the circle and stay in, and you just throw it into the middle of the pack.
Right.
And it was the last man standing.
Yeah.
I've never seen that anywhere else. Usually it's like, it's a center line, but this was like elimination. Everybody, like last person, like.
I like that. It's like a Shark Tank.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody's in the middle, and you throw a ball, and then you instantly have to turn around because the person behind them would catch the ball and then throw, and people weren't looking. Yeah. That was epic.
I like that.
But I was always we had gym once a week, and we did
recess, too. We were Thursdays. We were gym on Thursdays.
Yeah, same. Thursday was a good gym day, and
that was great.
Recess was great, but gym was, obviously more organized because you had the gym teacher, and the gym teacher loved me because my uncle was a gym teacher, a legendary gym teacher in the district, Mr. Shalloway. And it was funny because the other kids in the other schools had him as the gym teacher. I never had him. He would sub, and that was pretty fun.
And that was always a real treat. It was fun for me. So I went to Catholic school from kindergarten until my senior year of high school, so we had to wear uniforms. So gym day was extra awesome in grade school because I didn't have to wear like the dress pants and like the polo shirt or like the shirt and the tie. I got to wear like sweatpants and a t-shirt. It was a part of a uniform, but it was nice. You show up and you don't have to wear you don't have to wear a tie or anything. So I particularly looked forward to gym day. So
what were one of your fondest memories of elementary school? And then we'll move on to the next the next school where you upgrade? What do you remember specifically?
Oh man. So my elementary school, we were really small. Like I think my class only had like 25 people or so. 20. It used to fluctuate between 20 and 30, and it was a Catholic school. So we had religious sisters that were on the teaching staff and the faculty. So we had a little bit of that going on. But honestly, like it was just really cool.
That was your favorite part?
Well, I'm getting to it, Ethan. I'm getting the background. So it was a small school. My favorite part of it was just kind of like the tight knit nature of it, because it was such a small class size that it's like who you had was who you had, like your friend group. So it was always like just kind of like the ebbs and flows of the friend groups, and especially as like we got into middle school, when like the drama that comes with like you start to like girls, and like all of that drama kind of entails a little bit. But it was just like the tight-knit nature, and a lot of us played sports in the town together too. So as much as we could at the time, obviously not being able to drive, like we all spent a lot of time together, and I just really liked that. I'm not particularly close with any of them anymore, but because it was so long ago, and you're but a lad. But I really enjoyed that, and I did like going to school back then when I was younger. Like I enjoyed learning, and it was fun, and it was rewarding for me to, I think, learn a lot about subjects and just different things that I was inquisitive about. And I think I was able to learn a lot of good habits, I think, that helped me in high school and in college and beyond. And it was kind of like, it was those formative years a little bit. You kind of start to decide what you like and who you're going to be. I think that process starts at a young age, and I'm thankful, on a level, for the environment that I was in and the people that I was around. That helped kind of lay the foundational work for that. So that is my answer, Ethan. If you were patient
That's
with
good.
me, I was getting to it. It was just taking a little bit of time. But what about you?
Calmer than you are.
Yeah, you are calmer.
Calmer than you are. So, yeah, I similarly, well, a little differently, but similar ideas. I always look forward to finding out what homeroom I was in. There was four teachers per grade, basically.
So you had quite a bit bigger of a school.
Yeah, there's probably about 100 kids per grade, like 22 kids per class.
Okay.
So, and you there was four teachers you could pick from, and there's always the one that everybody wanted. There's the one that no one wanted, and
you
then
got
there was
to
the other
pick?
two. No, we didn't get to pick.
I was gonna say there's no way they would let you pick.
I mean, you don't get to pick, but then obviously if your parents send
call
a
on
request,
a favor.
What are they gonna do? Say no? Hey,
you
my
get
kid
on the
can't.
horn and make some calls.
Yeah. So in the beginning, so it was random. So it's like, oh, is this guy gonna be in my class? Is this girl gonna be in my class? So it was always like. Right. It was always fun. It was very exciting. And then each next year, you hope to be put with the one other kid. And then that's where you ask the parents, I think these two kids should be together. They can stick together through school and stuff. So that was always exciting, because there's teachers that you are just big and scary and you didn't want to be with. And I remember second grade, I got this old teacher named Mrs. Strogus. And she
Strogus.
and she was like a really mean teacher that no one liked, but she really liked me, and she ended up, she was a good teacher. She was just older,
absolutely.
and
a lot
nicer.
of the kids, they didn't
she
like
wasn't on the new frills of
right, but it's totally fine. They're good educators, and if you do the right thing, you end up in their good graces. That was my fifth grade
That's
teacher.
right.
A lot of my classmates didn't like her because she was a little bit more strict, certainly, than our third and fourth grade teacher was. But she was great. I'm still in contact with her to this day. Lovely lady.
Yep. That's incredible, actually.
Oh,
and then there was in fourth grade, there's Mrs. Carnes, who would have a bunch of parties and stuff on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
But, everybody wanted to be in her class because they do fun stuff.
Right.
But Mrs. Strogus, that's when Drew moved into my school district, and she had the insight to make
the
me
Drizzy train rolling in.
Yeah, he had the insight to make me his show guide or his tour guide. So I thank her for our friendship, I guess, because he joined in there. So that was always great. But there's. I did this in fourth grade. There was we had a minute challenge. We did the multiplication.
Oh yeah.
Oh dude, I love that. That was my favorite thing, because I was pretty good at it, and dude, I loved it.
To run the table with that.
Yeah, dude. Exactly. And we did these things where the two kids, you'd get in the line and he'd flash a card and you have to say the answer. First person who answers stays. Then the other side, they go back to the end of the line. So it's it was a game. It was really fun.
Yeah. I have to ask, Ethan, is there, because I know there is for me, is there one band that kind of is synonymous with like your grade school and middle school days? Like when you think of that era of your life, is there one that you're just like, this is, I remember, this is the one?
I was gonna say that during my time in elementary school, I don't really remember listening to music or what I listened to.
A little too young when you're like third grade. Like you don't really have the agency to choose at that point.
Mm-hmm. And the way our school was set up, we had 1 through 6 was elementary school. Then we did 7 through 9 was junior high. So freshmen were actually top. Freshmen were top of the line here.
Oh, wow.
They changed it. I
don't like that.
I do. I think I do.
No, I don't
because
like
that's what I did. But then, like, I mean, you never experienced like the bullying or the freshman, like, the freshman like shit that people would get because you were the top dogs. And then if you were, for some sports or some, the band and stuff, you'd maybe go to the high school and stuff. And it was a real honor to get on that bus after school and go to the high school. But then like it was 10th, 11th, 12th for high school. So like you're already a sophomore and the seniors, like it was just
kind of over it.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit better. And so I don't know. I was always kind of a fan of that. I never had too much shit as a 9th grader because you were you were cool in your school.
Yeah. That's a lovely.
So no school or no music for my for my elementary days.
Yeah.
But junior high is different.
Yeah, our school, we were structured differently. So because I went to the Catholic school, the school itself, it was pre-K through 8. So there were kids that were, they went to that school for 10 years. So I went to that school initially for first grade. I was at another school previous to that. So I was, with the same group of kids from first grade through 8th grade. And it was more nominal, but middle school for us was like 6th through 8. And like grade school was 5th and below. Yeah. But if I had to choose one band, it all kind of morphs together. But like, I remember it must have been 2004, like we would have been in 3rd grade, and like some of the kids in my class were like starting to become interested in music. Not like, you're taking music lessons with the piano because that's what your parents want you to do, but like, they would be seeking out different music, or maybe they got a CD or, listen to the radio. And dude, at the time, Green Day ruled, they ruled the land, and that continued. Even into middle school. I forget the name of the album, but the one with like 21 Guns and whatnot. Yeah, I forget which one that was. I think that came out, I was in like 6th or 7th grade, and I still remember at the time, like they were a very, very cool band to be into, and it was like one of those things where everybody in the class, like if you were to ask them like, hey, you like Green Day? They're like, of course I like Green Day, because you want to be cool. But yeah, it's weird, like they are the preeminent band of the time for me. Which I didn't really know what I liked, obviously, at the time, because you're so young, and I didn't really get into music really deeply until I was towards the end of high school.
You liked whatever was shown to you.
Exactly. Yeah, I like them. I've said it before on the show. My first CD in 2005 was All the Right Reasons by Nickelback. I loved Lips of an Angel, when I heard that the first time. Theory of a Dead Man had some cool stuff at the time. It's really interesting to look back. But yeah, for me, middle school, absolutely, it was the Green Day. But it was only American Idiot, because that's all we knew, because that's all we were hearing on the radio.
It's true. That's where it stopped, that album. Mm-hmm. I remember that was one of the first albums. I downloaded that onto my Xbox. My neighbor gave it to me, Sam Culp. Yeah. And all my music discovery, I always say, it came. And that's why I love junior high and senior high, is because the music was so explorative, right? Everything you listened to could have been your favorite band. And not that like when I listen to it now, I'm not saying music doesn't have the same effect, but there is something to be said about listening to music during those times and how it sticks with you. And the bus rides, that's where we traded music. And one thing I was going to say, it's funny, we had a science fair in 5th grade, and it was always scary, and I had to pick something. And I remember I did like the battery life for AA batteries, like what company, Duracell versus Energizer.
Absolutely. I hated the science fair, man.
And the way I tested it, I'm sure the results, it was all about presentation, just how to, think with scientific method. But my test was, I would just put batteries in my CD player and just run it until the batteries die. And I don't know.
Just start the stopwatch.
Yeah, I don't know how I would have I don't know how we came up with numbers of when it stopped officially, but
yeah,
it's pretty funny. But that CD player took me into junior high, and I listened a little bit of the CD player, and then we got the MP3 players going. But I remember like Mr. Brightside, they had their Hot Fuss album come out in like 03 or something. That was huge. I had Mr. Brightside on it. Lips of an Angel, I listened to that a ton in high school. That was like a one-off. I didn't get too much into the Hinder discography. And then, of course, Green Day.
I don't think that anybody did. It's okay.
No. Green Day and Blink-182 were huge for me. Definitely listened to a ton of them. Mm-hmm. Blink-182 has such a stranglehold on all my memories from back then.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I had this one friend, and we went to the same church, and we used to volunteer, on the weekends doing different church things together. But he was between my brother and I age-wise. So like if I was in 4th grade, he would have been in 5th, and my brother in 6th. And he started playing guitar at a young age, and he was one of the guys who, he burned a couple of CDs for us, and I really wish there'd be some way for me to recall everything that was on there. But I remember like the time, he was into some cool stuff. And I remember Angels and Airwaves was a big band that he was
I'm glad you brought that up. That's
he was a big fan of. And whenever I think of that time, I remember it was a CD. It was like silver and orange on the front. And like, I think he wrote like my name on it. It's like songs for Chris or whatever. I gave it to me. I put it onto my desktop, my gateway computer, my family's gateway computer at the time, and just hammered that thing. But he gave me my first lessons at my first aborted attempt to learn how to play guitar back when I was in like 7th grade too. So,
dude, I love it. The older brother influence was huge on me as well. And I'm glad you brought up Angels and Airwaves because, Blink-182 is so important. But then I was introduced to Angels and Airwaves, and they had I, Empire, and We Don't Need to Whisper were the 2 big albums. Yeah. And it's Tom DeLonge's band. I remember I was blown away finding out that band members had other bands that they were in. And I was so scared that they would like leave and never come back and stuff. But they have the one song, The Adventure. It's like their top song. And it's like, and it talks about how life's waiting to begin. And it's so like, he was big into space. Tom was, and aliens and whatnot.
He still is. It's paying off in a big way, though. We're getting to the truth.
It's paying off in a big way, dude. And the fact that their songs were so like very atmospheric and stuff, and they had that like feel to it where I love, and it was like anything is possible. So I would listen to those a lot and just and his voice just fit perfectly with that. So Tom DeLonge, his voice definitely takes me back.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes me to, I
want to hear what you're saying.
So it kind of takes me to the thought and the connection of like, voices of a generation and stuff, and how Kurt Cobain was the voice of a generation for a lot of high school kids and young 20s and how impactful that was. And I'm not saying that like Tom DeLonge is as important as Kurt Cobain.
So our generation, I think he was.
You're right. You're actually probably right. Probably to a lot of people. But I'm just saying, like, it's so funny where like you have these bands, like Pete Wentz. He's one of the guys in Fall Out Boy, and he was like people loved him. Yeah. And like for some reason,
All American Rejects, man. Whoever the front person for them is. Yeah.
But like you have these weird bands that just like really stick out for. There's like everybody our age and stuff, and so Tom DeLonge. Like there's a weird connection that I can. Hopefully make to Kurt Cobain, but like
it's just the cadence of popular opinion and popular culture. I mean, there's people who kind of like snatch up a large market share at a given time of what's considered to be popular and what like the cool people are listening to. I think now certainly when we were growing up, but even more so where I think a lot of people who listen to the show who grew up in the 90s, like it was much less prevalent. I mean, now like popular opinion is being molded 24/7 and it's accessible 24/7 because of the phone in your pocket. For us, is like you go to school and like your interaction kind of ended. You might instant message a little bit or whatever, but you certainly weren't consuming thoughts of other people in media the way that you are now. So true. It was definitely a different environment for things to become popular, and you could like as a unit at school could find something and decide that something was popular and not be impacted by a large group of people elsewhere who said that it wasn't popular. So that was a cool element. And I know for us too, my friend group, we were all really, really big into American Idol. And so we would all watch it. And I remember when my friends first got into it, I wasn't allowed to stay up that late to watch it. So like I would always have to like figure out what happened or whatnot. And I remember, we would always kind of like discuss, and a lot of the music and the stuff they would cover was like, we thought was like really good. And, a lot of those artists, when they would release their first album, it would be on like top 40 radio. And we used to get into it a little bit, but it was interesting. Like the governors of popular opinion at the time were much different than they are now.
Yeah, and who's to say if it's better or worse? I like the aspect, like you said, you leave you'd leave one day of school and it was 12 hours before you talk to the kids again.
Well, yeah,
or you
and
leave
because
on Friday
otherwise
and
you had to call
Monday.
them, and their mom would answer, be like, "Hello, can I speak to so and so?" You know,
and you'd only do that if you wanted to play. I mean, I didn't do that
if you
for
wanted to play, or like
conversation as much.
if you forgot the homework or something and you needed them to, yeah, exactly.
But it's so true. Like you'd leave on the weekend and you wouldn't see your buddies. Well, you'd see them, but you wouldn't see, certain people until Friday, or you wouldn't hear of them at all. Where now it's like so much easier. Yeah, but bus rides are great. But then once you get into high school, like I said, you get your license and you get to drive to school. And my brother, he was 2 years older. So when I was a 10th grader, he was a senior. So he drove me every day to school until I got my car. Mm-hmm. And dude, there was nothing better than driving. I mean, we didn't speak in the mornings. I think we talk about it. Like I'm a very quiet guy in the morning. If at all costs, like if somebody's coming in with energy, sometimes my little brother, he'll just start talking to me and I can't keep up. Like, dude, me and Quinn,
I've witnessed this.
Oh yeah, me and Quinn had an unspoken, like literally one time I think one of us was like, isn't it funny how neither of us say anything on the ride into school?
An unspoken agreement of unspokenness.
Yeah, and but dude, nothing better than driving in. You drive to school same route every day, and then all of a sudden you see a few other kids that live in the neighborhood and be like, oh, there's Tyler Shaw. He's driving in too, or like there's Drew driving in, you see their cars and stuff. Then you pull in and the lot is filled with all these shitty cars. And that's the one thing I don't like. I don't like going to high schools now and seeing all these Broncos and 4Runners and all this shit. Like, dude, where are the Subarus, dude? Where are the shitty Corollas and all that stuff that everybody was driving back in the day? Oh man.
Well, it's just a function of the passage of time. I mean, like a 10-year-old car for us is like, now it's like, 25-year-old car or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's time's been moving on a little bit. It's so funny though, because like I had a wildly different experience because I didn't go to school in my town. I went to school about like 25-30 minutes away. So I took the bus my freshman year, and then they changed the bus schedule, and it would have been like unseasonably early for me to get to the bus. So my mom drove me my sophomore and junior year, and I was young for my grade, so I didn't get my license. So, and even my senior year, I would only be able to, we only had one car in the family, so I could drive so as long as my mom didn't need the car and could get a ride home from work. Yeah. So, and I drove alone, so like I didn't share any time with anybody. So
you didn't pick up any friends on the way?
I didn't pick, no, I was
carpool?
I was one of the only ones from my town who went to my high school. I went there as a freshman. I didn't know anybody. None of my grade school friends were going to the high school that I went to. I was just kind of like dropped into the middle there, and I kind of had to find my way a little bit. But I definitely missed out on that like quintessential element because it just wasn't an element of my experience.
Yeah, that kind of stinks. And yeah, like I said, if the car was in the shop or somebody else's was, you'd pick up your friends on the way in. There's a lot of people that, it was like 4 or 5 people deep rolling into school all the time because they lived in development, so it's a lot easier for one kid to drive.
Yep. Yeah, just make the rounds in a couple of blocks.
You gotta pay your buddy gas money. There's one kid paid me. Drew will love this shout out, but Michael Hutzeluck would pay me $5 to take him to school every day. And
$5 a week or $5 a day?
$5 a day.
$5 a day?
He made the price because
goodness!
Yeah, I know, right? It wasn't out of the way, but because he lived pretty close to me. But he was like, it's like, come on, man, pick me up. And I was like, dude, I don't know, man. That's like the opposite direction. He's like, I'll pay you $5 a day, and I was like,
that's
all right.
That's a pretty lucrative deal for a high schooler, man.
I know, dude. Well, my lunch was $5, and this is
so you get free lunch. Because of Kyle Hutzelbuck or whatever his name was.
Michael Hutzeluck. Michael Hutzeluck, dude. And
last
incredible.
name sounds made up.
Yeah. I wish I could make up a name like that. Hutzeluck.
Steel rustling.
Yeah, exactly, dude. The steel rustlings of the world. And you do it every day for lunch. We had an open period. Well, we had lunch, but we were allowed to leave the school. And this is like, I don't think this is very common across, but we were allowed to leave premise and walk up to like, there was a few boundaries. We couldn't go over the one main highway and we had to be back. So we could walk, and we would walk to the grill shop, which is like 0.7 miles away every day around, 12:30 or whatever, and all hang out. And it was so nice because it was multiple, it's lunch. So multiple grades, it was just 12th and it was just 11th and 12th, but you had the seniors involved and everybody would show up, and you had to call in the order and get them in. And, oh dude, and there was a dojo in the back. There was some like taekwondo place where they set up tables and people would fuck around and like use all the nunchucks. I just talked to Adam. He said he still has a pair of nunchucks from there. And that guy got so mad at us so many times because we just mess it up and there's not much he could do. Or I don't know. We were just assholes.
Exactly. I'll tell you though, high school was kind of the first era where I actually started getting into music, and I actually exercised a little bit of agency in what I was listening to. And for me, man, a lot of it, I'm not ashamed, but I have to come clean. A lot of it was just because of Pandora Radio, the app, which is what I used.
Pandora was king.
Dude, Pandora was the king. And like I used to, oh my God, when I would get home and do my homework, like my high school gave us hours of homework. Like for me, it was objectively much more difficult than college ever was for me. Wow. So like I'd get home at like 7 and I'd be doing homework till 11, and Pandora was right there with me. And it was cool. It was exploratory because, you pick something you like and it would feed you a bunch of stuff that it thought you might also like. And that's when I started really getting into the classic rock era. Because even to that point, like as I'm sure we've discussed before, like middle school, I didn't listen to a lick of what we would call grunge rock. I didn't know anything about it really. Even when I was young in high school, like I'm ashamed to say it, I listened to a lot of country pop music.
Oh, man.
I listened to a fuck ton of that stuff, and it almost corrupted and hollowed out my brain. But thankfully, I was drawn more and more to like the classic rock, the low-hanging fruit, the Zeppelins of the world. And that eventually gave way to stuff with a little bit of a more folk-based writing background. Like Bob Seger was huge for me. And then it was just one of those things, you by happenstance, the Pandora algorithms would warp over time, and you could be on like a Bob Seger radio station, and eventually they'll start feeding you Soundgarden or something just because. And I remember hearing Slaves and Bulldozers. I'm like, hell yeah. It was that, and it was 94 HJY, picking up the Roosters and the Men in the Box of the world. It started to get me on the path. But man, I used to hammer the classic rock with my buddies back then, and a couple of my friends had like CD collections of their fathers, or they had vinyl collections. They would talk about stuff and be more well-read and come in with suggestions. And I think that's really where I began to hone my teeth as a music fan.
Yeah. Yeah. I wrote down a little bit like, 8th and 9th grade and like junior high is where people actually start getting skilled in like sports, art, and music. And they start like, say, Prodigy starts showing, and then like people really start putting the time in 10th and 11th and 12th, and all of a sudden like people really start developing those personalities and stuff. And I think it's exactly what you're saying. You start listening and finding out more, and then it just leads to finding out more. And this is when I was playing a lot of music,
right?
To a
you
lot
had
of stuff
that element to it too, where you were playing a lot.
And like I said, it's so funny because like Drew would come in and he would be like, I want to play this song, and I'd listen to it. I'm pretty much every single time like, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Like everything was awesome. Everything was like fun, new.
And everything was new too. It was fresh to you.
And then dude, when they would come in, like, man, they'd give like, stories of the band and stuff when you heard about Nirvana, and it's like, oh, this lead singer died, and then like, or like there's a Leonard Skinner, like the plane crashes and stuff, and you get blown away at the stories of the music and stuff. That always took me too, where I was like learning about the stuff. And like I said, when people had other bands, or Dave Grohl was in Nirvana first and now he's in Foo Fighters, that blew my mind as a high schooler.
Like you hear Hunger Strike on your classic rock station, you're like, holy shit, that sounds like the guy from Pearl Jam in the back. And lo and behold, right, I'm
gonna blow your mind.
That's the thing, like, and they're such like basic, not funny punchlines at this point anymore, but you have to remember, for every boring punchline, that was once a new discovery. And I remember those days, like, holy shit, Mad Season, what is this? That came later on for us.
I said Mr. Brightside is a great example, because I remember listening to that and loving that and just thinking it was so cool.
There were no cliches to it either.
And then it
same
morphed
thing with Wake Me Up When September Ends. Like there was no cliche to that. It was just a really, really good song.
Yeah. Yeah. And it morphed into like the wedding song and then the college song, and now it's just like, it is what it is. It's its own thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a song. And I think like as we move forward, like, high school I think laid the groundwork, and then college, just because I think you end up meeting a lot of different people with diverse backgrounds and whatnot, and I was certainly set on the path that I'm still on, just honestly from meeting you and becoming friendly with you my freshman year. And I think our musical interests complemented one another, and we've talked about that so much on this page, and that was a direct line to where we are now, obviously. But that is the one thing, like, it was nice to kind of have all of this at our fingertips, and out of a matter of convenience, we didn't have to go to Newberry Comics or Tower Records or wherever to discover this music. We just had it in our pockets at all time. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, and you switch from, Pandora to Spotify, and that's when Spotify really started kicking in as college, and all the real streaming and like choosing what you can listen to at all times. And
it's interesting, Ethan. So like my story as a music fan and like a connoisseur of music kind of becomes pretty synonymous with yours, I think, like halfway through freshman year, like when we really started to become friendly. But obviously you were at Pitt for a year prior to me, and I was new, and we weren't really super friendly at the beginning. Like there's definitely a couple of songs and different artists that I think of, kind of when I think of those early days. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but so because of like the classic rock and like the 70s kick that I was on, like I'd become pretty fond of James Taylor. And like I remember getting to college, and like I had like just broken up with like my high school girlfriend that like you couldn't have told me like wasn't the love of my life and everything.
I remember that.
You do remember that.
I remember that.
Halloween we broke up. It was tough. Young
classic.
Chris
Classic. 2 months into college, having to break up with your high school girlfriend.
No, it's classic because like she did the thing where like she was like, we have to break up, like we're going to different colleges, and I wasn't happy about it, but I understood. I was like, okay. And then we got to college, and all of a sudden, like a week and a half in, she's like, I want to get back together, as whatever that could possibly mean at 17, 18 years old, right?
From across the
country.
country.
I was like, I'm in, like I'm back.
I've been waiting.
Yeah, it lasted for like another like 5 or 6 weeks, and then I remember she told me, she was like, yeah, like I was really lonely when I got to college, but like now I have friends, so like I don't really need this anymore. And I was like, all right, this is what it is. But I remember like not even because of that, just like being in a new environment. Like it was the first time I was away from home, obviously. I was pretty homesick. So, we used to have practice pretty early in the morning, and I had a really shitty roommate my freshman year. So like I would just sit in my bed, trying to fall asleep. And for some reason I fixated on James Taylor. So like I used to listen to James Taylor, to kind of, I don't know what I was trying to do, but it was helpful when I was homesick a little bit. Like he had a song, he covered a Carole King song called "You've Got a Friend," and he had another song called "Up on the Roof." And I used to listen to those two on repeat over and over again, laying in my bed, like being homesick. But it's a process you have to get through. And like once I kind of like left all that shit behind, like I really kind of immersed myself, and I think our friendship certainly grew, and we had a lot of great people around us, some of whom we're going to see later this fall at a little wedding scenario. So yeah, man, it's kind of funny, like the shit that seems like it was a big deal at the time it doesn't end up being a big deal.
Well, yeah, that's very true. Yeah, relationships during those years, and how it's changed, how your view has changed on that, how was everything for the longest time is pretty funny. And that's why you always think about how your parents know best, or people that giving you advice that are older. Mm-hmm. They're trying to tell you, be like, let her go, don't worry about it, or let him go. It's just, you'll be fine. Listen to your sad music, but like focus on school. Don't skip class because of the girl. Like, you still do all this other stuff. Trust me. I've been there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would just say the same thing. Yeah. We definitely, once we got together and started listening to music, because I was, then that was a nice part about high school. I had people to bounce ideas off and stuff, and music. When I got to college that first year, there's less like musical dialogue that I had on a regular basis than compared to high school, until you showed up, and Jim would offer some good stuff. He was into the older classics as well.
Yeah. Kindred spirits.
Yeah. And I think that sparked it all back up, because we were away from what was normal and what you used to listen to and stuff. Mm-hmm. And man, Good stuff.
I'll tell
I'm
you
trying to
though,
think-
longitudinally in grand scheme, I have one song that for me is the king of the back to school time of year. Do you want to know what it is?
Is it going up the country?
No,
By Canned Heat?
no, it's not, surprisingly. It's from the book of Rod Stewart, Maggie May.
Yeah.
I think just because of the fact that it's got the lyric like it's late September and I really should be back at school. But man, I remember not so much my freshman year at Pitt, but when I got to Iowa State my sophomore year, like I just remember vividly walking around campus and like I would just play that song over and over in my headphones. Because once again, that was the second consecutive year that I went to a college and I didn't know a damn person. Just try to make it work that way. So yeah, the mighty Rod Stewart.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, to just think about those first 2 years of college are just so special, dude. Yeah, you're walking around campus. Everybody's on the same path, fresh, new, doesn't know anybody. I'm a big proponent on old school dorms. 2 people living in the same room.
Oh yeah, it.
People are, it's so important for how you interact with other people and like how you handle like
just etiquette
situations,
in different situations. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the dorms, they have, their separate rooms inside of, one big room. It's like a house. There's two a common room and then 2 rooms, and now you can get, like my coach used to say, you can get DoorDash, you can get all the stuff sent to you. You don't even need to leave. Like you don't need to go to the dining hall.
Yeah.
It's bullshit, man. You gotta be in the thick of it. You gotta be in the crappy dorm at least for a year. It's gotta be done.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was necessary. And yeah, I did for 2 years, one at Pitt and then my sophomore year, the classic, we had at my sophomore year, we had the bunk beds with the desk underneath. So like we would do our work underneath the desk.
Much more room.
And then you'd climb up. So like if either roommate had to get up in the middle of the night for any reason, you automatically would wake up the other one because the ladder to get up and down was so creaky, and the door was, the building was like 150 years old that we were in. But there's just like different things like that are, you need to have those experiences. They're kind of unifying experiences. Like I'm so happy that I had them, and Pitt, we had a good thing going too. We had a lot of really good friends on our floor and everything.
The same thing once you move off campus with your buddies in college, like we're older, we're 28, you're not gonna live with your buddies like that anymore.
Oh dude, like those days
those days are gone. I mean, you're gonna do it because you maybe want to save some money, but like maybe one other roommate. But like,
well, then at that point, people start getting married. People move.
Like Chris, do you remember? I know you do, obviously, but we were locked into a lease.
255 Robinson.
We were locked into a lease. How many people were gonna live there? I remember that happened like so fast.
It was Andrew, myself, Chris, you, Brucey, and Jim. So there were 6 of us, but it was a 5-person house. So we were going to convert the garage, and we were going to stick Bruce in the garage.
Oh my gosh, I would have loved to see that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would love to have played that out and see how that would have been.
When it comes
to, do you think we would all been good roommates?
No, there would have been drama. I have my guesses as to who we would have, who our patience would have worn thin with. But like Ethan, you know how in sports, like there's different bits of memorabilia that become valuable. Like this somewhere that signed contract for that rental apartment, if it exists, that is a very important part of Grunge Bible lore.
And I just remember like we were transferring, and I was obviously worried about that. You were worried about that. And Jim was like, we need to get out of this lease, guys.
He's like, we signed a legal document.
Yeah. And we had no idea what it meant. It was like, I don't know, get the cross country kids to move into there.
Yeah. And we did.
Thank God.
Yeah. Because we would have been on the hook. Our landlord.
I know. Who knows what would have happened.
Yeah. That was the peak situation of like, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. But
no idea. No clue.
Like, I don't remember what the rent was. I don't remember like any of the breakdown, but I remember kind of like we were all friends. Like we were all kind of like jockeying without like aggressively jockeying for like which bedroom we wanted and everything. And
Andrew had the big one.
That would have been so fun.
Dude, I know. It really would have.
In an alternate reality, I definitely wouldn't have. I would have been on the beers a lot. I would have been heavy on the beers.
There's beers and coffee cups and water bottles, dude.
Yeah,
and the nice part about that,
we would have been getting on the beers all the time.
if you're listening to college, if you're listening and you're in college and you're a freshman or you're going to be a freshman, this is the advice I give to everybody. You got to live in the dorms, but then you got to get off campus as soon as you can. You got to live with your buddies. It only happens. Live with 4 buddies. Try to get other buddies. If you have like your friend A, B, and C, live with them, and then make sure that friend D, E, and F live in the house really close by.
Yeah.
And the nice part, or would have been really good, is everybody's on the same schedule, especially if your teammates on track team. Like having the same schedule sync up is what makes it
the solidarity.
Possible. Yeah, what makes it really like possible and like just an opportunity.
Yeah, like walking to practice together every day and like getting off at the same time, like
Yeah.
Everything.
But and then the nice part is, especially like if you're on some scholarship that helps with housing and stuff, I think it's so important to learn how to pay rent, pay utilities, and do all that stuff.
Be responsible.
Right.
Grocery shop, cook, do your dishes.
Under
clean,
the supervision of like
clean.
Under the supervision of like the university / like the landlords know they're renting to college kids, so it's just like it's a situation where it's so much better. And you get to learn you got to clean your dishes because somebody else wants to make dinner. Like it's just it helps a lot. And it's easily the advice I give everybody. Andrew gave me that advice. He's like, you move off campus as soon as you can. Come live with me. Although he didn't have a plan in mind for us. We were kind of surfing a little bit, but we figured it out.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that would have been fun. Man, yeah, college was a blast. I have to ask Ethan, I have one question. Not maybe so much as it relates to college, because I think the answer, might verge on being a little too serious, but do you remember, like, for you, like what your worst day of school ever was from high school or grade school? Is there like an incident or anything, or like a time you got in like wicked bad trouble that sticks out?
Yeah, with my hesitation, I feel like there's not something that sticks out of my brain that really scarred me. Yeah. That's a good one. I gotta think of something good. Yeah. Do you have one?
Yeah, I have one. Yeah, which prompted me wanting to ask this question. So
let's hear yours. I'm gonna show you if I can think of something good.
Yeah. So this was my freshman year of high school, and I think it was like the first or second week of school. And my high school at the time had a strict no cell phone policy. So the policy was like you got to school, and by the beginning of homeroom, like you had to have your phone off and in your locker. And I was abiding by that because I was a young freshman, wanting to do the right thing, whatever. But one day I had forgotten to put my phone in my locker. So it was in my backpack still. And the school at the time gave themselves the power to, if you were caught with your phone, they would confiscate your phone, and you would have to serve the requisite number of days detention until you could get it back. So it was a Friday afternoon. I was sitting in Miss Way's biology class, and all of a sudden I hear a little, vibrating, like a buzzing coming from like somebody's bag. And I'm like, who's that fucking idiot who brought his phone in? And then all of a sudden, like, I kind of like listen a little bit. I'm like, I think I'm the idiot right now. Yeah, and like she's
I think
lecturing
I hear Coheed and Cambria playing.
Exactly. So it was just buzzing. It was vibrating, but obviously it was making a noise. So like the teacher's lecturing up at the front, and she's like, whose phone is that? And she's obviously listening and like walking towards it. And like I didn't know that it was mine because I thought that it was it was
some other idiot
in my locker. I thought it was some other schmuck who didn't know which way was up or what side of the bed to piss on. And then all of a sudden, like, no sooner am I wondering where it's coming from that she's standing like in front of me, in front of my desk, and is like, Chris, like, I need your phone. And I was like, fuck, like I didn't think that was my phone. Sure enough, I opened my bag and my phone is sitting there. I got like a junk.
Who's calling?
I got like a junk call. It was from like an 800 number. It was a bunch of bullshit. So this was on a Friday too. So my school's policy was if you had your phone taken away, you had to serve 3 nights detention.
3 nights?
3 nights detention, and then you got your phone back. So it's on a Friday. You have to serve 3 nights. You don't have 3 nights before the weekend. Like it's the weekend. So I have to give her my phone. So I'm without my phone. I don't think they could get away with doing this now because of how connected we all are and have to be. So I hand my phone to Miss Way, the biology teacher. And I'm like, fuck, I don't have a phone. So at the end of the day, I have to make my way down to like the vice principal's office. And he's like, you had your phone taken away, huh? I'm like, yep. I was like, it's on your desk right there. Like, that's the one. That's mine. He's like, well, our policy, like, you have to serve 3 nights detention. And he's like, you're not going to be able to get this back till next week. I was like, I understand. But for some reason, my school was stupid, and they had this clause where Friday night detentions counted for 2. So it counted for 2 nights. Yeah. So he was like, he's like, it's Friday. Like, you can serve detention that counts for 2, or you can do it all next week. I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to do Friday. And I'll just be late to football practice or whatever. So I go to the detention room, and it turns out that the teacher who was proctoring detention wasn't at school. Like, she had to leave. So the vice principal comes back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like when the officer doesn't show up to your court date, you're free to leave.
Exactly. So I'm sitting in there waiting for this teacher to come proctor this like hour and a half detention, and the vice principal comes back in. He's like, "Where's so and so, whatever teacher?" I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "Oh, like shit, like she must have gone home." And he's like, "Well, I'll tell you what, son." He's like, you said you were gonna serve it today. You were here. Like, I'm giving you credit for the 2 nights. And I was like, okay, like, I appreciate that. Like, I'm going to go now, if that's okay. I'm going to go to football practice. So I go to football practice. Like, I'm like a little late to practice, but like, I think some of my friends like told the coach or whatever. It's like, oh, like, he's in detention. He got his phone taken away or whatever. So I get to football practice, and we were doing special teams. So we were doing field goal block. So I was coming back from an injury. Like, I had like fucked up like some tendons in my foot. So like, I was like just making it back. So I was in like my helmet and my shoulder pads. So I was just in shells, and I line up for field goal block. And I'm like head up the tackle or something, and the guy who's way outside, like on the end of the block team, is like, "Hey, like, you're just coming back, like, you should switch with me." I was like, "All right, yeah, like, I'll do that, because like no one's gonna hit me out there." Lo and behold, like, I go to like run through and like attempt to block it, while not really attempting to block it because of practice. Somebody, I don't know if they cut block me or somebody fell, but I take a helmet to my knee and I partially tear my MCL. So I lost my phone. I just partially tore my MCL. I'm like 13 years old, scared shitless. I don't have a way to contact my mom and tell her that I'm hurt because my phone is in the vice principal's office. So I'm just sitting there waiting for my mom to show up to like pick us up from football practice, because my brother was playing with the varsity at the time. So I'm like,
no one else was going to call for you?
No one called. I didn't know what to do. Everyone was at practice. I didn't have access to a phone. So like I crutch out, and she's like, "What happened?" I was like, "Well, like, I explained the injury." She's like, "Why didn't you call?" I was like, "Well, I couldn't because it's in the office. Like, I forgot to take it out of my bag. So, I'm injured now."
She raised hell.
Yeah. So like, no, she didn't. So I'm injured. I'm on crutches, and I go to school on Monday, and I go to the vice principal's office. I'm like, "Hey, I can't go to practice. I can't do detention today because I have an MRI after school." He's like, "Okay, no problem. Do the detention tomorrow, and you'll get your phone back." So I had the MRI Monday, and then after the MRI, they're like, "We need to see you tomorrow. Like, the orthopedic needs to see you tomorrow afternoon." So I rinse and repeat. I go to the vice principal on Tuesday. I'm like, "Hey, I can't serve the detention tonight. I'll have to do it tomorrow on Wednesday because I have another appointment." He looked at me. He's like, "Just take your phone back." He's like, "You're clearly having a rough couple of days here. Like you should have your phone." So
he held the phone for the whole, like, until from Friday to Tuesday.
He held the phone from Friday until Tuesday. They used to be able to get away with that shit, Ethan. They were feeding on the powerless when their cups were already overfilled.
Imagine, like, obviously you told your mom, like, he took my phone, like, and there's like, "You gotta serve your detention, son."
Yeah,
like,
it was
no
other
way to get
then.
it back.
Like smartphones weren't really a big thing then. Like, I don't even think the iPhone wasn't really prevalent. Like, I just had it was like a flip phone. So like it was very utilitarian. So it was like, all right, like, you're just gonna do without your phone. But then eventually he's like, "Kid," he's like, just take your damn phone. he's like,
That's
get
so
out of my
funny.
office.
That they would keep it overnight for 5 days, basically.
Oh, it's awful.
And there's
no way they could do it now.
3 1-hour detentions?
I think Fridays were an hour and a half, and then after it was like an hour. So I would have had to serve.
So you had to do 3 hours.
I would have had to serve 3 hours, and I served 0 hours, but it was at the expense of my MCL in my knee. So I don't know if that was. I don't think that was an even trade, but that was the equivalent of like, you have a rough day and you go to the bar, and the bartender takes one look at you and is like, "First one's on me. Like, I can tell you need this one." He's like, "Here's your phone."
Yeah. So was that your only detention through high school?
That was the only detention that I had in high school.
I had a really similar thing. Believe it or not, I only got in trouble once.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there was one time in junior high where I feel like I got in trouble because me and my buddy who was in the band. We were playing the pan flute. There was like this like toy pan flute that we were like playing during class, and I got yelled at. And I don't remember what happened, but when I was in high school, we actually had a senior trip, and we went to Disney World as a class.
That's a lofty trip for some Pennsylvania boys, high schoolers. Yes.
So, and I'll lay it out to you because this is it's pretty unreal. Like our school was kind of cool. Like the whole like getting out for lunch.
Yeah.
Then we had this thing where, it was like, I think it was like $1,500 or something back day where you basically raised money like the whole year. Like, there was those kids like, Kelly Sassa raised all of her money for the trip on her own through like school stuff. Like you can do it too. Like don't let money be an issue. And like obviously we wouldn't do like any of that stuff.
Right.
Sell chocolates, like sell chocolate bars.
Exactly. Car washes, bake sales, all that bullshit.
But people did it, and they would.
They
would go. So anyway, we went, and it was awesome. A lot of people were like, "I'm not going to that," like because if you didn't go, it was like right at the end of school. If you didn't go, you didn't have to go to school, obviously, because the majority of the class and the teachers were all in Florida. So you had a choice. You could either spend a week in Florida with some teachers, or you could be off for a week. I'm really glad I went because there's no other time where you can get a bunch of high school kids walking around Disney, like all your buddies are, doing all this stuff, right?
And you're kings.
And you're kings. You're in high school. Your parents aren't there. You're staying in the hotel by the the sports resort and stuff. And there's pools and everybody was doing stuff. It was freaking awesome. And so we wanted to do a class prank there, and like we had talked about doing some stuff. Like there was a show that had like the get couple pigs, put 1, 2, and 4, and then put them in there, or you put a cow on like the second floor and it can't get down. Mm-hmm. There was a bunch of
bubble
stuff
wrap
like
the teacher's desk, like that kind of stuff.
There was a really good one that was done. I think it might have been a year after or so, but we had at the football field there was Bears Stadium, and there was bears spelled in shrubbery and trees and stuff. Mm-hmm. And somebody replanted it and took away some stuff so it said penis. And it was incredible. It was amazing. It was just executed perfectly. It was perfect. Good. So we had our class was kind of struggling to figure out a prank, which is so funny that like it was kind of like it was a big decision for the whole class. We needed. So what we came up with was at 12 o'clock in Disney, when we planned a couple weeks, at 12 o'clock we'd all leave our rooms because 11 o'clock was curfew. We'd all leave at 12 and jump in the pool.
Right.
And like all have like a pool party.
You're going to show them.
Yeah. So when the time came, we did. And we all ran out. We jumped in the pool, partying, whatever. And then like, some teachers came out, started yelling. Everybody yelled at everybody and like made us go back. And like I got caught. Some people got away with it. And I had never really gotten in trouble. And I was like I said, I never formally, but like, we got in trouble and it was like a big deal.
Right.
Where I was going to have a detention. I, for some reason, thought I was going on my permanent record, whatever that means.
I don't think those exist either. They're fucking liars.
There's no permanent record.
No,
like, okay.
There's none.
So we all got in trouble. I think, like the people, my roommate also got in trouble. So we had to spend half a day, like the rest of the kids went to the park and we had to spend the day in the hotel.
Yep.
But then when we came back, we had to spend a 3-hour detention. And I was so like, is there any way I can get? I was trying to get out of it so bad, and like, because some people didn't get, but I wasn't gonna snitch on them. But some people didn't have to serve it. But I remember, I don't know why I was so like worried about not getting in trouble, even though I did like so much shady stuff in high school and never got caught. Like I definitely deserved something. I had gotten out of it a lot, but it was pretty sweet. And then we served this detention. I think I did like an early morning one, so I got there like 5 or something, and like. They let us out. I think they let us out early. Or maybe I did it afterwards. I don't remember. Yeah. But like, just sat there.
That was a classic disciplinary move where they're like, this is your sentence. And then like halfway through the sentence, they're like, well, I hope you learned your lesson. You're free to go.
I need to go, so you're good.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, don't do it again.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But
I remember being
incredible.
really stressed out and upset that I potentially was going to get in trouble. Like, they had to call our parents and said we left. And, but looking back, obviously, super glad I did it.
Yeah. It's like the Bruce Springsteen lyric, someday we'll look back and this will all seem funny. because it is funny. Real quick, as we're running short on time, your most favorite and least favorite subjects from when you were a lad in school?
My favorite subject, the subject that I was like the best at,
Gym.
and I kind of excelled, gym, lunch, was probably math and like algebra and calculus. I was in calculus BC, like I took the AP.
Damn.
I did. I skipped.
I did not know this about you.
Yep, I skipped. There was algebra A, B, and BC or whatever, A and B, and I skipped calculus, the first one. I skipped the first one, so then I was eligible for the calculus BC my senior year.
Right.
And I was good when I applied myself. At that point, I think I was a little bit over. Like I got senioritis so bad, and so I kind of like. But when I was in form, like I really loved solving equations and doing the the proofs and stuff. Like I was pretty good at that.
Yeah.
My worst subject was, I think, history and social, U.S. social studies and U.S. history, A push, and that was because I couldn't. I just was, I'm bad at names, dates, history,
dude, you're bad at all that stuff.
Geography. My geography's getting better. Everything's getting a little bit better, obviously, but like that type of stuff was I would get it mixed up all the time, and I would. It was right after lunch, and I'd always fall asleep in that class, and it would just crush me, and I was not very good at that. And like I said, dude, since my time in Europe, everybody asks like how it went and stuff. When you go over there, like history makes more sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's more interesting. It's right there. It's on the book.
You look at the map all the time. You're like, look, I'm here, I'm there. This is what happened. Like, I can't believe the U.S. wasn't discovered until 1776 or whatever, and like all this.
Well, it was, but
yeah, it was. But that's the kind of
until the white man came and did what he did. Still, like, just the idea that there was so much undiscovered. So I don't know. Like, I wish that I had history class now. Like when you're when you're an 8th grader and you're learning about this stuff, about when Christopher Columbus comes over, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And it's so standardized and like kind of like predisposed, like how you're going to learn about it, and like there's
even
one
still
way,
I'm just saying, like it's like you just don't have any frame of reference. It's like
we're listening to the dude's story. You're listening to the dude's story and expects exactly.
We're listening to the dude's story. I was not listening to the dude's story. It doesn't matter how they were sending it or delivering it. I wasn't paying attention.
You weren't picking up what they were putting down.
It didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
How about you?
Hilariously enough, my most favorite subject, was history, and my least favorite was any sort of math. I was also really, really fond of literature. I had an incredible English and literature teacher in high school.
English teachers stand out.
My sophomore and senior year, Mrs. Thompson, she was incredible. One of the more challenging classes I took. I used to take like the AP shit, but I did. You are sitting with an individual who got a 5 on his AP US history exam. So
wow,
eat shit.
That's
Ethan.
awesome.
Yep, I'm the one. Shout out to Mr. Mancuso for that.
You're a nerd.
I am a nerd. No, I'm not a nerd, man. I used to be.
Sounds like you were.
Dude, my high school was like one of those like uber competitive private Catholic high schools where like class rank was like super important because like you're like, oh, you have to go to college and you have to be really successful. And it ended up being fine. I went to a very average school and I had a great time. So at the end of the day, you run the race until you don't want to run the race anymore, and then you do the best that you can. So that's what you got to do.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Back to school. A lot of grunge rock this week.
Yeah, if you guys are listening still, thank you very much for listening. I hope this episode was fun and interesting and maybe sparked some thoughts from
remembrance
back then. And if one thing gets across, I think when I was doing this exercise and thinking about it, and like, I don't know how else to say it, but like, elementary school matters, middle school matters, high school matters. And if you're a parent and you have kids out there, like the small things matter. Like, opening up my lunchbox and seeing that I had like a fruit roll up, dude. I remember how jealous I was of kids having fruit roll ups, and then I would have one sometimes, like on special occasions.
Man, the little things.
Yeah, those little things really stick out. So if you're a teacher out there, like just know that, like, I mean, anything you do could last forever. Like I remember Mr. Davis, 4th grade. Teacher, dude, he would bring his guitar in and play some music sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And that blew my mind.
Well, like a little Puff the Magic Dragon or something.
He played some old stuff. I remember what's that one song? Ooh, diddy diddy dum diddy do. He loved that song. Thought it was like he'd have us like sing it. Yeah, and it was like solid and just like little stuff like that. Like so, if you're a teacher, like parents, I feel like you guys know how important it is. But I like being reminded of it because then when I interact with the high school kids of the world, I get to hopefully do that, help them have a really good experience because it's so important. It sets your whole life up. And
Absolutely.
That's all awesome. I got.
That was a quality episode. Thanks if you're still listening. Thanks for your support. Thanks to our producer who produces us and makes good production so we can give this episode to you. So man, I think we should get out of here pretty soon. So we should end with some songs of the week. Would you like to go first, my friend?
Yeah, I can absolutely go first. Let me see if there's anything that comes up that I've been really listening to. Nope. So I'm definitely gonna go with The Adventure by Angels and Airwaves.
Nice.
That's a song that brought me into the fold with them, and it really got me going. And aliens are real, so Tom DeLonge was right. So we need to give him the due that he deserves.
That's amazing. I love that.
It's a great song. I think everybody will like it.
Yeah. Cool.
How about you, Chris?
Well, my song of the week is going to be in conjunction with some live music that I just saw recently. So last week I saw Bruce Springsteen twice. I went once the first night with two of my buddies from high school that I'm still really close with. But in a very special way, different from the first night. The second night, I took my mom. I went to Bruce Springsteen with my mom, which was really, really cool. She's a big fan and had seen him a few times in the 80s and hadn't seen him since with the band. So we went, and it was just a really cool, like, special thing to share with my mom. Bruce's music is like pretty important to her, and like she's had a pretty rough go of health the last like year or so. So just like to have the opportunity, to be in a spot where like we're both healthy and we get to spend time together and in a shared passion of ours that we weren't really, when we were young, like that wasn't something that we bonded over because I didn't really listen to music and whatnot. So that was really, really, really cool. So that it was a lot of fun, to sit there, and go to the show with her. So I'm gonna pick a Bruce Springsteen song for my song of the week. I'm going to pick a song called "Long Time Comin'" by Bruce Springsteen. He did not play it at either of the shows, but it's a good one. It's got a lot of really good sentiment, and it kind of talks about how kind of we want to put our children in a better place than we were, and that we don't pass along the bad things that we struggle with to our kids and put them in a position to succeed and where they can chart their own path. And I was thinking a lot about that as I was sitting there with my mom watching the show, and I couldn't be more grateful for her ability to do that, and the job that she did raising me. She's the most critical person in my life who's put me in a position to be who I am now. So it's really cool that I live near her. We're doing good, and I get to spend time with her and do stuff like that. So I was really, really happy about that, and something I'm always going to remember. So
yeah, it's a great mother-son time right there.
Yeah, man.
Which is definitely underrated sometimes.
Yeah,
spend good time with one.
You get older,
parents.
like once you get out of high school and college, like I think like it's kind of like a ebb and flow. Like when you're young, like it's kind of like cool to like not be cool with your folks, to kind of like go head to head with your old man or whatever. And then once you get older, I think mid-20s, if you kind of remember what's important. And I'm very grateful that I live where I do, and I get to spend so much time with my mom, because it's we're all getting older. So
yeah, very good. I'm definitely happy that you got to go see him twice, and one was with your mom.
He's fucking good too, still, man.
Oh yeah, dude, this guy's all
great.
Rip. Music lives on, man.
Yeah, it does, and school's back, baby.
School's back. School of Rock back in session. So thank you so much, everybody, again for listening. It was a pleasure. We will be back next week. We are going to draft fantasy football teams. No, I'm just kidding. well, who knows what?
Hey, we do have the draft.
I'm
in your league this year, so
that's right.
I got to do
coming
my
out
research
today. Yep, we have a draft the following day, so one day after Labor Day. But enjoy your holiday. Love you guys. Stay safe.
Love you all. Thanks for your time. We'll see you next week.